Okay, could you introduce yourself to us, please?
Sure. I'm Jim Bridenstine. I'm the Republican nominee for U.S. Congress here in the 1st District of Oklahoma. I went to Jenks High School, which is right here in the 1st District. After graduating, I went to Rice University. I had 3 majors at Rice: economics, business, and psychology. After graduating from Rice, I joined the Navy, became a pilot, flew combat in Afghanistan in 2002 off an aircraft carrier called the USS Abraham Lincoln, flew combat in Iraq in 2003, and then I transitioned from the E-2 Hawkeye to the F-18 Hornet and flew at the Naval Strike and Air Warfare Center, which is the parent command to Top Gun. In 2007, I went to Cornell University to earn an MBA, and then I came back to Tulsa to be the executive director of the Tulsa Air and Space Museum. I received military orders in 2010 to join a squadron called VAW-77 that does counter-drug missions in Central and South America, which is what I do now.
How would you protect Social Security for today's seniors and strengthen it for future generations?
Great question. So when you think about Social Security for today's seniors, I think the important thing to note is that nothing should change for people who are currently retired. In fact, nothing should change for people who are near retirement. But when you think about Social Security as a whole, for the younger generations, we're talking about a program that is a $6.5 trillion unfunded liability for the next 75 years. So there are big issues with it that need to be dealt with. We're also talking about a program where the Social Security Trust Fund has been raided by politicians that can't control spending in Washington, D.C. So the trust fund has no money in it. There are only IOUs. So what Social Security has to be, we have to fix it for the future if we want to preserve it for future generations. My generation is going to have to look at Social Security different than the current generation. Let me tell you why. In 1935, when Social Security was created, the retirement age was 65, and the life expectancy in the United States was 64. So there were a lot of people that never got to benefit from Social Security. Since then, the retirement age has moved up to 67, and the life expectancy has gone up to 78. So people are living longer, and they're working longer. So I think for my generation, the younger generation, what we have to do to preserve Social Security for the future is gradually raise the retirement age so that it can be there for us when we retire.
How would you put Medicare on stronger financial ground and protect today's seniors and future retirees from the burden of rising healthcare costs?
Great question. When you talk about Medicare, the first thing we have to do to preserve Medicare is roll back or repeal Obamacare. So let's talk about Obamacare for 1 second. We have a program here, and everybody agrees that within the healthcare system we have issues with access and affordability. We have people with pre-existing conditions that can't get access to health insurance, and in America we need to make sure that if you have a pre-existing condition, you can get health insurance. So we all agree on that. The question is, how do you solve these problems? And if you look at how Obamacare was passed, it was created in the House of Representatives by the Democrats alone. They rolled it out on the floor in the dark of night and passed it with Nancy Pelosi saying, we have to pass it to find out what's in it. The next day, we find out what's in it. If you don't buy enough insurance, you get taxed. It's actually a penalty that the Supreme Court ruled was a tax. If it's too much insurance, if you buy too much insurance or your policy is too good, you get taxed. There are a total of 21 new taxes, $500 billion in new taxes to fund the program, $500 billion in new deficit spending, and $716 billion taken from Medicare. That's going to directly affect seniors, especially those who have Medicare Advantage, because that's where that money is going to be redirected from. So that is an important thing. Now, if you buy the health insurance that perfectly conforms to what Obama wants you to have, we're also being forced in this system to buy abortifacients, abortion-inducing drugs. And this is an idea that's antithetical to the beliefs of a lot of people in the 1st District. So the starting point is we need to repeal Obamacare. Then what we have to do to increase access and affordability is look at the healthcare system as it exists. I think we need to enhance health savings accounts. So people like me, starting at my age, we can start saving tax-deferred for our healthcare needs in the future. And that's good for retirees of the future. I want to reiterate, if you're currently retired, if you're currently on Medicare, nothing should change for you. But to shore it up for the future, we have to look at new ideas, health savings accounts. We need to look at the ability to buy insurance across state lines to make insurance more affordable and more cost competitive. And then we need tort reform as well. And these will drive down costs, which will be a direct impact on Medicare and a direct impact to cost savings within the healthcare system. Obamacare, on its face, does not reduce costs. In fact, it increased costs. It has increased insurance premiums, not reduced them, and it needs to be repealed.
How would you help Americans build a financial nest egg for their retirement?
Another great question. If you look at current seniors in America today, a lot of them are on fixed income because they have saved for their whole lives, and they have investments that are providing a fixed income, and then of course they have Social Security. So they're on fixed income. But what we're seeing is that prices in the market are going up, and those prices are going up because we have a Congress that can't control spending. We have this huge deficit. And so the U.S. dollar is losing value. When the U.S. dollar loses value, prices go up. A gallon of gas, a gallon of milk, the cost of housing. All of these prices are going up at the same time our seniors are on fixed income. So their purchasing power is being reduced. So if we want to be able to build a nest egg for future generations and for this generation of retired folks, what we have to do is we have to balance the budget, stabilize the U.S. dollar so that prices don't continue to rise. And as far as those fixed incomes that seniors currently have, those fixed incomes right now are yielding very low interest rates. And they're yielding low interest rates because of artificial mechanisms by the Federal Reserve. They're creating money out of thin air, buying treasury bonds, driving up the price of bonds, keeping, the coupon stays the same, so the yield comes down. In other words, seniors that are retired today are receiving very low interest rates, and they're on fixed incomes, and prices are too high. But it really starts with Congress. Congress has to balance the budget so we don't continue destroying the dollar. Prices need to be stable, and we need to return to less intervention from the Fed as it regards to in regards to interest rates.
And do you have a closing message?
Sure. My name is Jim Bridenstine. I'm the Republican candidate for U.S. Congress. The choices before us are very clear. On the one hand, we have Obama Democrats that have a philosophy for getting our country back on track. That philosophy includes more government, more taxes, more regulation, more deficits, and more debt, and Obamacare. On the other hand, we have a more conservative philosophy that is adhered to by a lot of conservative Democrats in the First District, as well as Republicans and independents. And that philosophy is we need less government, we need low regulation, we need low taxes. We believe in this country that if you have a business, we believe you built it. And I think that philosophy is more in line with what the people in the First District believe. My name's Jim Bridenstine. I'm asking for your vote on November 6th.
Okay, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself?
My name's John Olson. I am running for Congress in Oklahoma's First District. I am a small business owner, an attorney, a husband and father of 6 children, and a proud Army veteran, proud to have served in Afghanistan and in the 101st Airborne Division. I just want to take a minute to tell you why I decided to get involved in this race, and it has to do with the debt ceiling fight that happened last year. Not only did we lose our credit rating as a nation, but one of the results of the debt ceiling fight was that training across the entire Army Reserve was canceled. And that put a lot of pressure on soldiers who were within a week of their mobilization, and a lot of people didn't get paid. And it's just one example of what happens when gridlock holds this entire country hostage, when Tea Party politics holds this entire country hostage. And that's why I decided to run. Now, I know that we have been looking at a choice here between a Tea Party candidate and a Democratic candidate. And I think that there's an opportunity for the first time in a long, long time to have some common sense come into the district and represent the people in this district, not just children, not just average everyday American working people, but also seniors. And I think that you'll see a stark contrast here between what I offer and what my opponent offers.
And how would you protect Social Security for today's seniors and strengthen it for future generations?
Well, I think there are a couple of things that we can do that really make a lot of sense. And first and foremost, we can lift the cap. I mean, that's going to make it last into the next century. We can also make sure that we do common sense adjustments on the cost of living adjustment that happens every year so that it doesn't outpace what the actual cost of living is too much. Now, these things will make Social Security last. They will make sure that my kids, I got 6 of them, make sure that they have Social Security and that generations coming up behind them have it as well. What we don't need to have is a 30% federal sales tax and repeal Social Security and Medicare taxes that my opponent offers. Because what that does is it adds 30% to the cost of all goods and services. Look, seniors have already paid taxes on everything that they earned up to this point. And as a retired person, not paying Social Security or not paying taxes at a federal level, having to pay federal sales taxes in addition to what you've already paid throughout your entire lifetime is not the right answer. So to strengthen Social Security, lift the cap, make sure that we have common sense cost of living adjustments, and that's something that we can make last.
How would you put Medicare on stronger financial ground and protect today's seniors and future retirees from the burden of rising health costs?
Well, the first thing we have to get clear is that Medicare and Social Security as well are not insolvent programs at this point in time, and there are reasonable things that we can do to make them last. Now, one of the things that we've got to do to make sure that healthcare costs come down is make sure that we are educating and promoting healthier lifestyles for people that are younger, so that when they move into the Medicare program, they're healthier and that the costs of Medicare don't continue to rise the way that they have been. This is something that's not a partisan issue. This is something that's common sense that I think people that are Republicans and Democrats can all agree to. Again, putting a federal sales tax on all medical services, whether it be immunizations or chemotherapy, is not the right answer.
How would you help Americans build a financial nest egg for their retirement?
Well, again, it comes down to the tax code and making sure that we incentivize people for retirement savings like Roth IRAs and other things like that, and helping employers be able to make those things more accessible and easier to get into are a couple of things that we can do to make sure that we build our nest egg. If we promote a 30% federal sales tax on everything and get rid of all these incentives, that's not going to help seniors one bit.
And do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make?
Well, again, my name's John Olson. I am the Democratic nominee for Congress in Oklahoma's 1st District. I'm running a common sense campaign, and I'm running to make sure that we strengthen Social Security and Medicare and make sure that we take care of all people. When people ask me why I'm a Democrat, it comes down to a quote that I read once, and it is this, that the moral test of government is how it treats those in the dawn of life, the children, those in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those in the shadow of life, the sick, the needy, and the handicapped. And that's what I want to represent. That's what I want to bring with me to Congress, not crazy tax plans.